night, that's when, we let it go and say our prayers and just be with Kiplyn, because I can't be her father. I'm not there to protect her. I need somebody to help. I want justice. I want justice. I want to find the people that took her, and I want to know what happened.
Not knowing has got to be the worst thing. I mean, we have no idea what happened.
A 15-year-old girl vanishes, never to be seen again.
I believe that it's touched everybody in town. It is a small town. It's a tight town, and people know and care for each other.
This is the toughest case I've worked on.
Years pass with nothing but theories of what happened.
I feel that these classmates tried to take advantage of her, and she fought them off, and something terrible happened, and she was killed.
A disappearance that tore apart a family and a community.
There's not a day that goes by that we don't think of her. I just carry her memory in my heart all the time.
It's hard for me because she's still out there, and I still need to find her, and I need to put her in a proper place. I need to put her where she belongs and take care of her.
In 1995, 15-year-old Kiplyn Davis vanished in the middle of the day from Spanish Fork High School, which used to be here on this open field, but has since been rebuilt. She had never run away before, she didn't have a troubled past, but all of her belongings were left behind. Police initially investigated this as a runaway, which meant crucial time was lost, especially early on in the investigation into her disappearance, and the case ended up going cold for years. The investigation eventually led to here, Spanish Fork Canyon, where I'm standing right now, which was searched extensively, but nothing was ever turned up. Multiple suspects were eventually identified, and one of them, Timmy Olsen, pled guilty to manslaughter in Kiplyn's disappearance. But he has stayed silent the entire time, never once uttering a word of what happened that day Kiplyn disappeared or where her remains may be. Timmy Olsen is now a free man after he walked out of the Utah State Prison in February of 2026 after serving his entire 15-year manslaughter sentence, remaining silent about anything related to Kiplyn Davis's disappearance. In 1995, shortly after Kiplyn Davis went missing, Richard Davis, Kiplyn's father, sat down for the very first time with a news crew to ask for help bringing his little girl home.
16-year-old Kiplyn Davis mysteriously disappeared 3 months ago. For her family, it's been 3 months of hoping every day and praying every night.
Night, that's when, we let it go and say our prayers and just be with Kiplyn, because I can't be her father. I'm not there to protect her. I need somebody to help. So.
Kiplyn's picture is on more than 6,000 posters throughout Spanish Fork. At first, police thought she might be a runaway, but they soon began to suspect foul play.
This is the toughest case I've worked on.
Sergeant Morgan Warner says his missing file on Davis is the largest he's ever had in 15 years. He's interviewed more than 200 people, checked school records for 1,500 of Kiplyn's classmates and teachers, and even took search dogs into crawl spaces at the high school and into nearby canyons.
Kiplyn Davis disappeared from Spanish Fork High School on May 2nd. Investigators say what's so strange is she left everything behind, and she had strong ties here. She was taking driver's education and loved it. And she was in the school play.
Doesn't show up to go to driver's ed anymore. Doesn't meet the rehearsals, and the play date comes and goes and no one's heard from her. No contact with any of her friends, none with her family.
Police say Davis had never run away or been in trouble before. They believe someone spotted her shortly after she disappeared in the back of a dark car on Main Street. While police continue to exhaust their leads, the Davis family holds their own vigil for Kiplyn every day. A light on the porch burns round the clock, day and night. The family says it burns in hopes that news about Kiplyn, good or bad, will help them put their nightmare to rest.
Investigations in the 1990s were way different than they are today. There were no cell phones to ping towers to pin a suspect to a certain location and time. There weren't as many surveillance cameras around town as there are now, and for the next 16 months, the investigation relied on witnesses.
16-year-old Kiplyn Davis left everything she owned behind when she disappeared 16 months ago. She left Spanish Fork High School in the middle of the day and has never been seen again. Friends there struggle with her mysterious disappearance.
Not knowing has got to be the worst thing. I mean, we have no idea what happened.
Davis was taking driver's education and in the school play. She didn't have a troubled past, but her disappearance is troubling everyone in her community, including police.
I believe that that it's touched everybody in town. It is a small town. It's a tight town, and people know and care for each other.
The FBI and police have posted thousands of flyers about Davis, offered a $10,000 reward to find her, and questioned everyone she knew.
Well, hundreds of interviews of family, friends, and relatives.
Police say it appears that Davis may have left the school willingly with someone she knew. They're confident that someone knows what happened to her. Her sister agrees.
Well, somebody must have talked to her at that time. Somebody, must have seen her get into a car or anything.
After 8 years, the Davises lost hope that Kiplyn would be found alive, but held on to the belief her remains would one day come home.
We need just as much exposure as we possibly can with her. She's been missing for 8 years.
There's not a day that goes by that we don't think of her. I just carry her memory in my heart all the time.
Richard and Tamara Davis believe their daughter Kiplyn is dead. Still, they want her back.
It's hard for me because she's still out there, and I still need to find her, and I need to put her in a proper place. I need to put her where she belongs and take care of her.
The Davises think they know who took Kiplyn and killed her.
I don't think they intentionally meant to hurt her.
But years of investigation by Spanish Fork police and the FBI have generated no answers.
Right now we are at the end of our ropes.
The CBS show Without a Trace features pictures of missing children at the end of each show. Tonight, Kiplyn's photo will be featured. The Davises say they are grateful for the exposure.
We have to continue to keep her in the media because, maybe a miracle will happen. Maybe she will be found.
We have found Elizabeth Smart.
Then the kidnapped Elizabeth Smart was found in a high-profile missing persons case.
Kiplyn was a beautiful redhead.
The porch light still shines for Kiplyn Davis.
And we just decided that would stay on until she came home.
I want justice. I want justice. I want to find the people that took her, and I want to know what happened.
Richard and Tamara Davis say they believe Kiplyn is dead, and they think they know who did it. Schoolmates on a joyride gone wrong.
I feel that these classmates tried to take advantage of her, and she fought them off, and something terrible happened, and she was killed.
Kiplyn Davis disappeared almost 8 years ago, and as they've watched the Smart case unfold, the Davises say they wish they would have had the same type of support.
Well, back then, we didn't know what we were doing. The police had never experienced this before in our town.
No access to the FBI, not until much later, and no searchers. Police say Kiplyn was a runaway. Looking back, the Davises say media coverage could have helped.
We probably won't find Kiplyn alive, but it gave me some hope that miracles do happen, and we might be able to solve her case.
Whoever took Kiplyn, if they watch this tonight, the police write a letter or make a phone call or whatever, and at least tell us where she is.
But until then, the Davises celebrate for the Smarts and also hope for their own miracle.
It'll stay on till we know, till we have found her.
It took 12 years, but investigators finally made 5 arrests. Timmy Olsen, Gary Blackmore, Christopher Jepson, David Leifson, and Scott Brunson. Each ended up facing federal charges for lying to a grand jury.
To come forward, let us have closure.
For more than 10 years, Richard Davis has been making the same plea.
Let us get on with our lives.
To those who killed his daughter, Kiplyn, on May 2nd of 1995. And in the last several months, federal prosecutors have been very busy making 5 key arrests. And with each arrest,
a milestone day in the investigation.
It's a very critical turn in the investigation.
This was a great day.
A new feeling of confidence that they are getting closer and closer to solving this murder mystery. Those arrests include Timmy Olsen, Rucker Leifson, and Christopher Jepson. All three of these men are awaiting trial.
Scott, how you feeling today? No comment.
Last month, Scott Brunson pleaded guilty to lying to investigators. And on Tuesday, Gary Blackmore also pleaded guilty in a secret hearing. Both of them are now awaiting sentencing day. All along, the 5 suspects were charged with perjury. And all along, Richard Davis has had his own theories of what happened.
But I just think things just got out of hand, and I believe my daughter was raped and murdered. That's what I think. I feel that Tim Olsen, Chris Jepson, and Rucker Leifson had something to do with the disappearance of my daughter.
But for years, this pack of suspects were able to keep anyone from talking.
People who were threatened, people who were intimidated into believing that if they came forward and talked, that they were physically at risk.
But now that has all changed.
We're confident that we know basically what happened to Kiplyn. We're confident we know who's responsible.
All 5 men either pled guilty or were convicted of perjury in the case, but soon investigators zeroed in on one main suspect. Timmy Brent Olsen was convicted on perjury charges for lying about the Davis investigation and was sentenced to 12.5 years in federal prison. While Olsen was in federal prison, the state of Utah built a case against him and charged him with murder.
September, we had our first look at Timmy Brent Olsen after his arrest in the 20-count federal indictment. But a woman who was close to Kiplyn Davis, her LDS young women's teacher, says talk of suspicions about Timmy surfaced soon after Kiplyn vanished. Ruth Long spoke to me on the phone today.
Almost from the time she disappeared, there's been rumors that he was responsible, and I know that there's been a lot of stuff I've heard, so I felt like it was a long time coming.
At first, when Kiplyn went missing from Spanish Fork High, police thought she might be a runaway. Now, more than 10 years later, the local chief hails investigators.
I can't say enough about those individuals and the great job that they've done.
It's not a slam dunk case down there. Even
Stephen McCoy, Timmy Olsen's lawyer, says the murder case against Olsen is largely circumstantial, problematic for prosecutors, and that Olsen insists he's not a killer.
He's saying the same thing he did all along, that he didn't do it, and he's prepared to go down there and fight it down there once we get done with these perjury charges here.
Nearly 1 year ago, searchers converged on an area of Spanish Fork Canyon, looking for but not finding the body of Kiplyn Davis. She vanished in 1995, and former classmates have been questioned about her disappearance, including Christopher Jepson, a man who lied to a federal grand jury investigating the case. Jepson and Timmy Brent Olsen, seen here, are charged in state court with killing Kiplyn. But this defense lawyer says for murder, quote, there's an infinite lack of evidence.
There is no physical, there is no forensic, there is no eyewitness, there is no murder weapon evidence.
I'm confident in our case.
Prosecutor Marianne O'Brien has the difficult task of seeking to keep murder charges without a body. It may hinge now on a legal standard before the court that goes to the heart of the prosecution's case, alleged confessions by Jepson and Olsen.
If the court does not find that we have met that standard, then we cannot put the confessions in. And if we can't put the confessions in, we don't have much of a case left.
In my heart, I know where Kiplyn is, spiritually, but I need to bring that body back and bring that closure back to our family.
Olsen pled to a lesser charge of manslaughter and was sentenced to 15 years in state prison to begin after his federal sentence ended. The state sentence ended in February of 2026, and Olsen walked out a free man. So how did law enforcement peg anything to Timmy Olsen? The answer to that question lies in a letter that changed the course of the case. The former U.S. Attorney for the District of Utah at the time received a written letter from Kiplyn's father, which ultimately led to Olsen's federal perjury charge. In the spring of 2003, Elizabeth Smart had just been found alive. The case quickly gained national attention when Smart was kidnapped from her Utah home. Meanwhile, inside the U.S. Attorney's office, Paul Warner received Richard's letter.
And then he explained that he had a daughter, Kiplyn, who at age 15 had disappeared from Spanish Fork in 1995.
Richard asked a simple question, one Warner could not answer.
I don't understand how or why so much resource was dedicated, federal, state, and local, to investigating and finding her. And none of that resource was dedicated towards finding my daughter.
Warner says the question stayed with him and he decided to act.
I have to be honest, it really bothered me.
Warner's office got to work and found what local authorities could not break, a wall of silence in Spanish Fork.
Timmy Olsen and others had really intimidated the community into silence.
Murder cases are typically handled by the state, so federal prosecutors went after what they could prove, perjury. In 2005, Olsen and others were indicted.
Olsen, in my opinion, was arrogant enough to think that he could go in and lie to the grand jury and get out of any trouble that he was potentially in. That was a big mistake.
At sentencing, federal rules let the judge use harsher guidelines to determine the perjury sentence, pushing the prison term to more than 12 years. The state later charged Olsen with murder based on an alleged confession, and he pled to manslaughter.
Do you feel like that letter and you getting the grand jury together and starting this investigation into Timmy on the federal side ultimately helped lead to his state plea of manslaughter?
There's no question, and I don't say that to take any credit, because if there's any credit due, it's to the great hardworking people who actually did the investigation.
But for Warner, the case was never just legal.
Richard Davis said to me, he said, someday, Paul, he said, when you die and go to heaven, he said there's going to be a little 15-year-old redheaded girl that's going to run up to you, and she's going to hug you. And I've never forgotten that.
What would you say to Timmy, on the day that he walks out, if anything?
Just do the right thing. And that means, to the extent that you know, and we think you do, where the remains are of Kiplyn Davis.
You surprised that he's never said anything?
I'm very surprised. I'm very surprised. But I have to say that there are just some people that are not motivated the same way the rest of us are. He had really nothing to lose and everything to gain, but he still chose not to do that.
In February of 2026, Timmy Olsen walked out of the Utah State Prison a free man, having served his entire manslaughter sentence. But there was a chance he could have been released 5 years earlier, and he didn't take it.
You can hear me okay, Mr. Olsen?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and get started.
March 9th, 2021, with 5 years left on his 15-year manslaughter sentence, Timmy Olsen has a parole hearing, virtually.
Okay, so you don't want to talk about the events of that day?
Not until I speak to my lawyer, no. It's a serious matter, and I take it very seriously, and I don't want anything to be misconstrued in the way that I answer it or answer it incorrectly.
That year, Utah lawmakers passed a new law allowing for early release in homicide cases if a prisoner helps recover a victim's remains. The board read that law directly to Olsen.
So, with this in mind, I don't know if there's any testimony that you would like to offer that you cooperate in good faith with the efforts to locate the victim's remains.
Until I can't answer that. I'm sorry.
Olsen's attorney was in the hearing, and he told the board that he spoke to her the evening before, but over and over refused to talk about what happened or where Kiplyn's remains may be.
I've said many times that
Then Kiplyn's father spoke directly to Olsen, as he had for decades.
So here we are at another crossroads again, and all I'm asking is that Tim will soften his heart and tell my family where Kiplyn is buried, and we recover her remains.
The board pressed him one last time.
There's nothing you could do to nothing?
No, I've done everything that I can do.
I know that he basically spoke with the parole board and acknowledged what their question was and cooperated to the best of his ability, and that was all.
Attorney Carolyn Howard represented Olsen at the time of his release. They met for the first time back in 2007 and remained in contact during his entire prison sentence.
Some people say Timmy had a lot to gain by saying more than he had said previously. Do you feel that way? Does Timmy feel that way?
I think that Timmy, at least from from what I've done to work, at least in my experience in working with him, that he has tried to always be honest, and that's all that I can say.
When he does walk out, do you think he thinks about the case, that the reason that he was there, you know, Kiplyn Davis? Does he think about Kiplyn Davis?
I don't know his exact thoughts, but I know that he wanted to improve himself. And every time that I've talked to him over the course of 18 years, he has always said, what can I do to improve myself? What can I do to be the person better than what I was, you know, 18 years ago? And that's somebody that has taken accountability. I know that he wants to change, and that he spent the 18 years doing that.
Does he have any message for the Davis family as he walks out?
I didn't ask him that. I didn't go into that.
You know, one of the big overlooming things of this entire thing has been, why not say anything more if he really does know? Does he still have the position that he's not going to say anything more about what happened that day back in 1995?
You know,
or where Kiplyn's remains are?
I didn't ask him that. I didn't go into that. I just basically went into what he's done in the last 18 years to prepare himself for February 10th.
And he is ready to just move on?
I think so.
You're saying that he just doesn't want anything to do with it? Is he a little, like, nervous about it, uneasy about it?
I think so. But I think that what he's done, he doesn't have anything to hide at this point, right? He took responsibility for the offense. He has served his time.
What is he feeling right now?
I know, and I asked him about that. I said, Timmy, you've been here in there for 20 years. Are you excited to go and get a hamburger? You know, do you want to go to Wendy's? Do you want to go to a movie? What are you thinking? And I did ask him that question in preparing for this interview. And he just said, I don't know really what to think of an outside world, because this is the only world that I know of since 2008. And he expressed a little bit of fear, just fear of the unknown. I think any of us would fear that way.
Howard says the prison system provided the structure Olsen needed. He worked toward a counselor certification to teach juvenile offenders, worked to become a pastor, and was close to finishing his associate's degree in Bible studies.
He struggled with alcoholism prior to going into the prison system. And you know, you don't really hear that very often, at least in my practice as a criminal defense attorney. I think a lot of people feel that the prison system is not helpful to them, but Timmy feels that it has been.
Olsen also received HVAC training Howard says he planned to pursue in his new life.
Is he ready? Because I know you mentioned he's felt like there's been a lot of structure, and that's the only life that he's known for a long time, for probably the majority of his adult life. Is he ready to leave?
I think that he is. In fact, I asked him, what do you think about actually walking out? And he said this to me. Let me grab this. He said, I have been here for 7,000, he said, I've been here for 7,439 days. And I just thought, wow, he actually has counted those days.
The legal reality is that when Olsen walked out of prison, he wasn't on parole. No ankle monitor, no state supervision.
He's subject to, you know, the limitations of having a felony conviction, but in terms of, you know, his everyday life, he will essentially just be on his own.
Sky Lazaro is a defense attorney not associated with this case.
Could Timmy walk out of prison when he gets out and say, I did it and I know where the remains are, without any repercussion legally?
I don't think he can do so without the potential for any legal repercussion.
In the state's jurisdiction, Olsen was charged with murder and pled guilty to manslaughter.
He can come out tomorrow and say, I killed her, I did it, here's where her body is, and the state can't do anything. Double jeopardy has attached.
But on the federal side, where Olsen was first convicted of perjury and served federal prison time, Lazaro says it's more legally gray.
He was convicted of a perjury, but he was not charged with, and double jeopardy didn't attach to the underlying crime or the murder. So, you know, the answer is it's not over for him, absolutely.
Today, Spanish Fork, Utah has changed. The population has doubled. Kiplyn's high school has been rebuilt. But in the home where she was raised and her parents still live,
We've moved on, but we haven't forgotten. It's still painful.
the front porch light has been on for 30 years.
Porch light's on, and it'll stay on until she comes home or we go home to her.
The years have changed Richard and Tamara Davis, but in one sense, time has stood still.
Kiplyn's still 15 to me. She's not 48, 45, you know. She's still 15 to me.
The Davises raised 4 children, including Kiplyn, in this house.
We'll never leave this community.
Kiplyn's parents have said all along, all they want is to have their daughter's remains. That, and not Olsen's release after more than 20 years in state and federal prison, is their top concern.
It's not long enough until they tell me where Kiplyn is, but that's what the law said he had to serve.
I just had to let go of the anger and hate. Because if you don't, it destroys you.
Same thing. We don't have anger anymore. We feel sorry now. We feel remorse for him. There's a higher court that he's going to have to face one day. I hope he understands that.
All these years later, the Davises have this theory.
I feel that they took her up to the canyon, and I think they tried to get. Well, I just think they tried to rape her, and she fought them off, and one of them picked up a rock and hit her in the head, and then they hit her again, and then they left her. And when they came back, she had died. And I feel that they buried her in a place, and we've never found her. I wish he would tell us where Kiplyn was. That's all we've ever asked him to do. He talks about wanting to be a man. You know, that's what he talked about his last court hearing that we was with, that he is now not a boy anymore, and he's not doing the bad things in life, that I've had to grow up and become a man. Well, being a man is having integrity and honesty. And as far as I'm concerned, if you don't have those two characters, you're not a man. You know, you got to be honest with yourself and with other people. And there's nothing, if he came forward and told us where she was, I mean, we're not going to throw him back in jail. We're not going to be upset. Man, hallelujah. I'd give him a big hug and thank you. Thank you for finally, coming forward.
Years ago, the Davises placed this monument at the cemetery, eager to give their daughter a dignified resting place. And for now, they like to think about Kiplyn in life.
She loved working with children. She wrote that in her journal, in an essay. I want to be a kindergarten teacher and have 2 kids.
Those memories console them, not knowing where Kiplyn is today.
I feel she's happy, but it's me. It's me. I won't feel good until I know that she is up there in that proper place that she deserves to be, not in some wherever she is. It just don't feel good.
The Davises believe because of the slow police response initially treating Kiplyn as a runaway, the suspects had plenty of time to get their story together.
We suspected them right from the very first.
You did?
Yeah.
Well, in fact, we were at one of them's house that night, but it was because one of Kiplyn's friends that we called said, well, I seen her with this guy at lunchtime, and so we drove up there
And he said, and I didn't feel good about her being with him.
The Davises did their own investigating, even going to the house of one suspect at 1 a.m. to ask if he'd seen Kiplyn.
But I didn't knock on the door. To this day, I go, why didn't I go up and knock on? I've wrote that in my book. Why didn't I? Why didn't I pound on the door?
While the Davises say more effort should have been put into Kiplyn's case from the start, they admit today law enforcement does a lot better.
I think the law enforcement and the court systems and that have looked at that and have changed quite a bit and tried to make it better for everybody. We have cameras at all of the schools now. We didn't have cameras in our school systems then. Wouldn't that have been wonderful to have videos at cameras at every one of those doors and seen Kiplyn walk out with whoever she was with? That would have changed things dramatically.